Good evening, chaps. How is everyone? Dear me, cheers. I'm all prepared this week. I've been so looking forward to that. Good evening, everyone. Cheers. I'm running a little bit behind today. I was elbow deep in tabbing out a solo, a real cast iron, 24 carat, gold plated, copper bottomed bear of a solo to tab out. And every bar I'm thinking, which idiot played this? And then I realized, oh yeah, that would be me. Basically, it's the solo that's going up in the morning or lunchtime tomorrow. It's an absolute beast to tab out, and I never consider these things when I'm playing. So let me tell you what's coming up on the channel this week, as is the case. First of all, tomorrow morning there is a little bit of a first look at this guitar. This be the Harley Benton HB35 Plus, which Bob, who is one of the regular viewers to this channel, bought me as a gift. And, it's basically I used to have one of these and I had to sell it to pay for some medical treatment for the dog. And, I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago in the live stream and, never thought no more of it. And then essentially Bob bought me a replacement. He was so touched that I'd sold a guitar to pay for some vet's treatment for the dog. And that's the guitar. And I've got more news on what's going to be happening with that guitar in tomorrow's video. And then there's a full review coming up on Tuesday. So that's Tuesday's video. What about... yeah, Steve, HB35. Get one, mate. You won't regret it. It's essentially an Epiphone Dot for under 200 quid, and a better guitar than an Epiphone Dot, if truth be told. And anyway, so that's Tuesday's video, is the full review of that one. Tomorrow is like a first look at it, and there's a bit of a kind of solo, and you'll know more about that in the morning. Basically, it's all about how to play a convincing solo when you've got no chords going on underneath you, that kind of thing. So what's happening on Monday? Well, I finally got round to it. It made its way to the top of the list. Last week, I did a Mick Ronson solo that had been much requested, and another name that's been cropping up in my request pile massively over, a couple of months now is Bill Nelson. So there is a Bill Nelson, as in Bebop Deluxe solo, going up on Monday. Tuesday is a review of the Harley Benton. Wednesday... Wednesday is a bit different. Wednesday is it's me putting on my Michael Parkinson kind of guys, because I'm having a bit of a chat with a guest who's on here tonight. More on that on Wednesday. You know who you are, who I'm talking to on Wednesday. Thursday, we will be looking at some kind of gear-related thing, like the options if you're in the market for one of those videos. Haven't quite decided what to do on that yet. I've got a few options, but I shall keep you posted. And then on Friday, we're back on the beer. So cheers. How is everyone anyway? What sort of weather have we all got round and about? Because it has been properly nasty here today. Like, I got caught in a bunch of hailstones this morning when I was out walking the dog. And ridiculous wind. I'm not telling a lie here. I had the dog out about 3 o'clock this afternoon, and the wind was that strong, it put me on my back. Yeah, I went down like a like, just something that falls over. I was completely on my back with it. Just, when you get like a gust of wind that just catches you when you're kind of going down a hill and you got 1 foot in the air as you're kind of taking a step, and the gust got me, and on me back I went. But thankfully I have a cure for any resulting trauma. Yes, it is a tad breezy, Colin. Oh, who's had the helicopter overhead? Yeah, we had one over pretty much kind of over our, I think it sounded like he was going to be coming down our chimney at one point a few nights ago. Apparently there was somebody reported, somebody reported seeing someone in the sea. Turned out it was a mistake, but the helicopter was out doing the search and rescue. Your dog won't go out in this weather. My dog could learn a lot from yours. It doesn't matter what the weather. He won't go out in the backyard. He won't go out to just kind of do his business out there if the weather's manky. But, if I put my shoes on and get me hat and coat, he's wagging his tail and he's at the door, and he doesn't care if it's, a miserable day when he's out, out, as Mickey Flanagan would say. Ozzy's got a phone call. That's why you put it on Do Not Disturb, Ozzy. John, your videos this week were great as usual. Your teaching clarity is a gift. Thanks for sharing it. Well, thank you very much for saying it. I mean, people do say that I have a way of putting things across in a way that's easy to understand. And all I can tell you is that it's, when I first started teaching back in, 30 years ago, as near as makes no difference, I was useless as a teacher, and it's a craft that you hone just through trial and error. And I'm always kind of learning new things how to do it. So, thank you for saying that. It's just something I've worked at. It's post-punk by Joy Division, whether indeed it is. Playing on my Boss Katana with my Tele Nashville Deluxe. Love the tones. Yeah, as you probably know, I have a Deluxe Nashville Telecaster, and it is an absolute immense guitar. It's like the best bits of a Strat, like the kind of quacky out of phase sounds, and the best bits of a Tele all rolled into one. It's it's a fantastic guitar. Hi, John. Thinking of getting a HB TE90 FLT. What upgrades do you think I have to make? Do I touch the electronics? The FLT, yeah, that's the sort of Cabronita style one, isn't it? I put a Goto bridge on it because I was looking at the bridge that was on it, and I could see that it was kind of a knockoff of a Goto bridge. So I thought, well, the Goto bridge is only about 30 quid, so I put one of those on, and that was just a direct drop-in kind of fit. And I don't know what they're like nowadays, but the one that I had like the string trees were just kind of like the butterfly kind of clamp-ons, and they were too close to the nut, and it caused tuning problems. So I put roller string trees on and some new tuners, because the tuners weren't great. So just ancillaries like that, really. Don't touch the electronics. Those Roswell Filtertron TV Jones style pickups are absolutely fantastic. Evening, Craig. Yeah, Ozzy, those stock Roswell pickups are really good. But you put the Iron Gear Steel Twins in, which are a lovely little thing, because it's basically like a pickup with a built-in boost. It just has a few extra winds that you can, in case anybody doesn't know, it's a few extra winds that you can hit a push-pull pot, and it just kind of boosts the output. It doesn't make it into a humbucker, but it just gives you a hotter single coil sound. Anyway, what's everyone drinking tonight? You got the lemon drop one, have you, Dave? Yeah, that was the one that Daryl Braun gave a bit of a stinker of a review to, wasn't it? The lemon drop version of that. And apparently he got bad customer service experience with Toman, which it happens. Yeah, I've always found them perfectly amenable, and very reasonable and helpful. But any big company, you're going to get the odd employee that isn't, kind of customer focused. Scrumpy Jack, as per usual, is it, Johnny? Yes. I've got to tell you, I've been shopping in Morrison's again this week, and if you've never tried this stuff, if you like, I mean, to be honest with you, my ideal situation would be I would have a keg, well, actually a cask of Theakston's XB in here with a hand pull pump, and that would be my tipple of choice. But there's something about putting proper real ale like that in either a can or a bottle that ruins it for me. So if I'm going to drink something fizzy, I'd rather drink beer that's designed to be fizzy, which is lager. And this is perfectly palatable, and I think it's about £3 for 4 cans, and it's, sort of 4.8. So that's not bad, that's not a bad drink for that kind of money. How long does a keg last for? I don't know. I've never had one, but I'm willing to give it a go. What's your thoughts on the Les Paul P90 GT Harley? The pickups, I think, are great. Is there any better ones out there? Not that you want to change them yet. If I was going to go for a P90 Les Paul, and I didn't have Gibson kind of money, or Epiphone for that matter, I think I would probably hunt around on the used market for the vintage, and I can't remember which one it is, but they do the Trev Wilkinson one. They do like a P90 gold top Les Paul copy, and I think in terms of Les Paul copies, it's a little bit more expensive than a Harley Benton, but I think you get more guitar for your money. I mean, the Harley Benton's great, but the Wilkinson vintage P90 gold top Les Paul is a great guitar. I mean, it's so good that you even get, I mean, I know he's not what you'd call an A-list musician these days, but Midge Ewer has one of those as his signature guitar. So, what changes would you make to your Harley Benton CST24? I put some Alnico 2 humbuckers in it because the Alnico 5 Roswells were a little bit hot for my liking. Well, actually, mine weren't the Roswells; they were the Wilkinsons. But generally speaking, when it comes to humbuckers, I like Alnico 2 magnets. They're just a bit more vintage sounding and a little bit, closer to that old PAF sound to my ears, anyway. Ian's just got a vintage V100. Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you who else is using a vintage V100. Do you remember John Parr, St Elmo's Fire? Remember him in the 80s? And he had that sort of a bit of a hit with Meatloaf, Rock and Roll Mercenaries, didn't he? He's kind of gigging and touring and stuff, and he uses a vintage V100. I think he uses the Lemon Drop. Martin Miller's Ibanez, yeah, it's over £2,000. Yeah, and well, I suppose that's market forces, isn't it? What is my choice of strings? Funnily enough, they're within reach. Those are the strings Legacy 10 to 46, and I put them on all my guitars. Doesn't matter whether it's a short scale length, long scale length. I just buy those and have all my guitars set for these. These are $3.99 a set from Strings Direct, and anything, they're certainly as good as Ernie Ball's, and at a push, I'd say they're as good as D'Addario's. I find that if you look after your strings, like if you kind of clean your strings every day, then they kind of last a lot longer, and those are fine, and for $3.99 a set, it's just you can, and that you can kind of change them as often as you feel you need to, and they also come with a spare first and second string in every set. Have you ever managed to get a satisfactory tone out of P94 pickups? Well, here's a confession. I've never played a guitar that's had P94 pickups. Like, you know, those are the sort of the hum. Actually, I have. Yes, I had the Yamaha Pacifica with a P94. You know, that's the humbucker sized P90, and it was fine. It was, you know, I wouldn't say it sounded like a P90, but it sounded exactly the same as a P90, but it sounded in the same sort of ballpark as a P90. Ultimately, what makes a P90 sound like a P90 is the fact that it's a big, fat single coil, and, you know, the width of it is listening to a certain proportion of the string. And if it's humbucker size, then obviously it's kind of hearing a bigger kind of cross section of the string to, you know, so it's not going to sound exactly the same. But Phil McKnight, he did a thing on his channel where he compared like a genuine P90 to like a humbucker size P90, and the difference was there, but it was, you know, it was a difference that you could easily compensate for on your amp, put it that way. Have I checked flat wounds yet? No, because I haven't put a string order in yet. I'm still working my way through the carton of strings that that I was getting into the last time you mentioned flat wounds, mate. But, you know, it is on my list to do. I haven't seen that, Colin, the Xavier Pro 5, was it Pro 0500? I haven't seen it, mate. No. I've got a lot of YouTube, you know, on YouTube where you can kind of click that thing and it's watch later. You know, I've got a whole kind of, I've got dozens of videos in that sort of watch later category that I'm going to try and get caught up on. Usually my weekend, I mean, Saturday's a mad busy day for me, you know, and Sunday I tend to try and finish sort of mid-afternoon sometime. I try and make my last lesson sort of around about that time. And then I'll kind of, you know, sit down while the wifey's watching her soaps that she's recorded through the week on the TV, and I'll just kind of plug my headphones in and watch some YouTube stuff. Why do you not like Fender strings? I've just always found them found that they break very easily, and that's not just kind of one guitar that I've had that experience on. I've just found that they break really, really easily. When, you know, I mean, when you put them on a new set of strings, they're absolutely fine, but I just find that I break them. Maybe that's just my playing technique. Maybe that's just, you know, something that other strings can cope with that Fenders can't, and maybe other people don't have that same experience, but I do find I break them very easily. Oh, okay, Colin, that's that. I've seen the thumbnail for that video where he says it's like a cheap Les Paul and it's brilliant. Yeah. You know, so I've seen the thumbnail of that video, but I haven't watched the video yet. Yeah, there you go, Paul. Tanglewood coated strings. I've tried coated strings, and ages and ages and ages ago, I did like a kind of a long-term test with a bunch of different brands of string on a guitar, and, you know, kind of kept updating it. And I just couldn't get away with coated strings. It was the coating that put me off. The coating kind of saves the strings, but to me it was like putting the coating on the strings immediately made them feel like old strings that were a bit sort of mucked up and greased up. But having said that, I remember an interview with Steve Cropper, you know, as in Booker T and Stax Records and everything. And he says that he used to kind of jerry-rig his own kind of coating on strings before coatings came out. He used to get, like, you know, the kind of lip balm sort of stuff and rub that on onto a fresh set of strings to kind of give them a coating that would save them from corroding and what have you. So there's a little tip: lip balm on strings if you like coated strings, but you can't get them. That might work for you. Yeah, I tried, Alexis, I tried Harley Benton strings, and in part of that string shootout that I did ages ago, and they acquitted themselves really, really well, actually. When you put a fresh set on, you could hear the difference between Harley Benton's and, say, I think it was Ernie Ball's, with sort of the kind of, the name branded strings that I used. But give them a week, and the difference was negligible. Well, it just wasn't there. Once the Ernie Balls had kind of had a bit of sweat and, kind of finger grease on them for a week, there was no difference at all between the Harley Bentons and the Ernie Balls. And they're a great set of strings if you're doing guitar setups. If you need to kind of put a set of strings on to kind of do some adjustments and then get the strings off, and you're basically kind of wasting a set of strings. Harley Benton strings are so cheap that you can do that with them. No, I didn't try pyramid strings, mate. I've never heard of them until now, but I shall check them out. The one brand of strings that I can absolutely, categorically, 100% without any shadow of a doubt warn you against are Tiger brand strings. They are dreadful. I just thought, again, as part of this string shootout, I went onto eBay and I just typed in cheap guitar strings, and Tiger strings. They were like 3 sets for a £5 or something like that, and dearie me, they were utterly appalling, like really, really, really bad. So just, if you see those, don't think you found a bargain. You haven't. They're horrible. Yeah, D'Addario. I used to swear by D'Addario strings. They were what I used to use all the time, and I had a good relationship with a certain music shop in Middlesbrough that is sadly no longer there. And I used to get them just at a little bit over cost price for them, because I used to kind of get them all the time. But so I used to get them in bulk, and I used to get a good price on them. So yeah, fantastic. Tell you a brand of strings you don't hear about much anymore: Piccato. Anybody remember those? They were kind of, once upon a time, big full-page adverts in the guitar magazines, and now you just don't hear of them. I shall definitely put that on my to-do list. That might be one of my review videos. Yes, Pyramid strings. I shall give them a go. And another brand of strings that, again, does anyone remember from the 80s, SIT strings, as in stay in tune? I remember Steve Lukather used to endorse those. Hi, John. Do you know why we can't get Japanese-made Fenders like the Aerodyne Strat anymore? No, I don't. I don't know. Fender don't keep me in the loop on such matters, funnily enough. But talking of Japanese guitars, I mean, like, one thing that I'm sure we all do, when we're kind of bored and we've got half an hour to kill while she's watching Coronation Farm or Emmerdale Street, is, just you go on eBay, don't you? And you just kind of do a bit of fantasy guitar shopping. And the other day I was doing that, and came across this Epiphone Les Paul Custom, Japanese model. And, I didn't know this until now, but in Japan, the Epiphones that are sold there have the proper Gibson headstock. And that's always been my problem with Epiphone Les Pauls, especially, is that I don't care about the brand name that's on it. That doesn't matter to me. I'm just, I play Harley Bentons, but it's just that Epiphone headstock on a Les Paul just looks wrong. It looks kind of out of place. It's kind of aesthetically jarring to me. But the Japanese Epiphones have the proper kind of Gibson headstock. So I'm just wondering why they do that only in Japan. What would be your top 5 UK guitar builders? Okay, well, seeing as how a certain UK guitar builder, I don't know if he's on the stream tonight, is building me my signature model guitar, I would have to say Scott Guitars would be, top of the tree, because, his guitars are, well, he makes beautiful instruments, and he's making my signature guitar, and that would be the same whether or not he was making me a signature guitar or not. He's it's a craftsman built artisan instrument. Second in the list, I would say probably Gordon Smith. I've had two Gordon Smiths, and they are fantastic guitars, and I just played another one last week, as you probably saw. Beautiful instrument. I would probably have to include Crimson Guitars in the list, because Crimson Guitars, well, I mean, I'm sure you watch Crimson Guitars channel, you just know the sort of stuff that Ben is capable of at Crimson Guitars. Then a bit of an oddball one. I'm not even sure they're still in business, but Gus Guitars. They are like this weird kind of thing with a sort of tubular metal exoskeleton, and just it sounds like really space age and freaky. But just Google Gus Guitars and check them out. Beyond that, so what have we done? We've done Scott Guitars, Gordon Smith, Crimson, Gus Guitars. One more. I can't remember who it was, but it might have been Vanden. I played a Vanden 335 style guitar years ago at a guitar show, and remember when Guitarist magazine used to do their own guitar shows? It was there, and one of their guitars was beautiful. I might have to say Fret King Guitars, because Trev Wilkinson, but I'm not sure they're made in the UK anymore. No, I didn't say that one, Famer, mate. What about an 80s Steinberger stick guitar? Yeah, the thing about those Steinbergers is that even with the kind of leg rest that they come on, it's the same sort of thing as a Flying V. I do most of my playing these days sat down, because who I'm not gigging at the moment. Who is? And they're just not a comfortable guitar to play sat down. Chat video with Ben from Crimson Guitars. Go on, John. Well, if he's up for it, then I would be. Yeah. Better say Godan, John, just in case the missus is watching. No, she's currently watching some dreary antiques show on TV downstairs. So, have you tried any Iron Gear pickups? Yes, I have. I've tried Iron Gear pickups. If you look on the wall behind you, you'll see a kind of parts caster, Telecaster up there. With many people say it's got a Paisley pickguard. It hasn't. Let me just show you. If you look closely, you can see that the pickguard on this guitar is made up from old beer bottle labels, hence the name Beer O'Clock on the guitar. Anyway, that guitar has an Iron Gear steel twin bridge pickup, and it is an absolute beast of a pickup. Fantastic hot Telecaster sound. I've got a Hofner Shorty, which I take on holiday to keep a practice. Not comfortable and weighted wrong. Needs must though. Yeah, I got. I get withdrawal symptoms when we go on holiday, and I need a guitar with me. So I bought like a really, really cheap, nasty kind of copy of a Martin backpacker a few years ago to take away with me on holiday, and it never came back. It was a horrid thing. It just ended up, I just left it in the hotel room and just came home without it, because it wasn't worth packing to bring back. It is. It's a lovely guitar, mate. It's that Telecaster. It was a guitar that I picked up in a charity shop for 25 quid many years ago, and it's been hacked about and butchered, and it's been sort of a bit of an ongoing project guitar. And at the moment, it's sort of with that P90 in the neck position and that iron gear steel twin. When you've got the pickup in the middle selection, you know, so you're on both pickups, it absolutely sings for slide guitar. And you know, it's a fantastic guitar for playing slide on, and that's why you don't see it much in videos these days, because it's set up with like a higher action, you know, for slide and like ridiculous heavy gauge strings. What happened to the manuscript scratch plate? Yeah, well, it's still around here somewhere. It's in a drawer somewhere. I can't find. I couldn't tell you where it is at the moment, but I've still got it. It will be going on a Telecaster at some point, but it wouldn't fit the P90, so you know, had to kind of get a new scratch plate on. You know, and the missus did the beer bottles on the beer bottle labels on that one though. How about the top 5 worst British guitars, starting with a Marlin Sidewinder? Yeah, well, I mean, that was hardly a British guitar, was it? I mean, it was imported into the UK by, I think it was JHS, wasn't it? That was the Marlin was their kind of brand before Encore and then Vintage. But yeah, dog of a guitar that was, the Marlin Sidewinder. It was the best-selling guitar in the UK for 2 years running, 87 and 88. Somewhere down in the bowels of my channel there is a video about that. It's just awful guitar. And then, you know, round about the early 90s, guitar manufacturers, budget guitar manufacturers, suddenly got their act together and started. I mean, I think it was in response largely to the Yamaha Pacifica, because there you had a guitar with, you know, that was playable, that was set, that worked. It worked as a guitar, you know, and it wasn't made from plywood. And then suddenly you started getting all of these kind of really rather good budget guitars being made, like Phoenix. I used to have a Phoenix Telecaster. Phoenix as in F-E-N-I-X. That was how it was spelled. And they were great guitars. And, you know, since about that time, say like kind of the early 90s into the mid-90s, it's been very, very difficult to buy a bad guitar at a low price, you know, because it just the market forces kind of meant that the people who were making awful guitars just didn't kind of stay in business. Yeah, those lag guitars, I remember seeing those when they first came out, being reviewed in Guitarist magazine, and getting like really rave reviews. So again, just one of those brands that I haven't heard of in ages. What's my view on YouTube backing tracks for practicing? I use them all the time. Yeah, go for it. If I'm just because what I do is, I mean, I'm teaching guitar all day, and usually my first lesson is 9 a.m. Although sometimes I have some of the lads down in New Zealand and Australia, and their sort of early evening is my early morning. So sometimes I'll be doing an 8 a.m. lesson. And, you know, I'm sat at my desk usually between 7 and past, and I'm just kind of noodling and warming up. And that's what I use, YouTube backing tracks. No, John, I haven't encountered Max Ostro. But, you know, there are just, I mean, it can be sort of disheartening, really. You can take it that way when you see, you know, you think, I mean, I'm 53-year-old, you know, and I see 14-year-olds on YouTube who can play circles around me, and I'm thinking, just, give it up, lad. But then again, the other side of me, the bigger kind of voice in my head is saying this is really, really encouraging that there are kids out there that are kind of getting that good on guitar, and it's got to be good for the future of the instrument. Yeah, Gibsons. Yeah, I would go along with that. Knock knock. Oh, are you a tuned downer, Ozzy? Yes. Yeah. Audacity is. I might do a video at some point on Audacity because it's such a useful piece of kit as a piece of software, and it's free, and you can just do so much with it. I'm probably going to be doing another software-based review at some point soon on a piece of software called Chord Pulse, which is, if you want to put a backing track together in 30 seconds, you can do it with Chord Pulse. It will sound a little bit like a cheesy 1980s Casio keyboard, but it's usable. I tend to think of it as more like a metronome with added benefits. You can it's better than practicing along to a metronome. It's less kind of clinical and playing to a tick tock kind of thing. But yeah, there's going to be a video on that coming up at some point. You did your whole Queen video on Audacity. Well, fair enough, mate. Yeah, I mean I do, as you know, for the Patreon supporters, I do a monthly podcast, and that's all done in Audacity. And back in the mists of time, about 6-7 years ago, when I used to have a show on a local radio thing, sometimes if it wasn't, if my schedule didn't match up with the station's schedule and I couldn't get in to do the actual show and do it live, I used to pre-record it and they used to put it out, and I used to pre-record the show on Audacity. Okay, so you did that was a cracking video, mate. That Rush video you did, Ozzy. That was a great video. Fantastic playing and fantastic tone from that Harley Benton. Yes, Taj Farron. Yeah, he's great, isn't he? And does anyone else remember from the late 80s a young lad from this part of the world up in the northeast of England called Tommy McLaughlin? And this kid was like 9 or 10 years old, and he was ripping Steve Vai stuff and Joe Satriani stuff. He would have been an absolute god in a YouTube age. He even made it onto BBC News, Yeah, that's the Iron Gear pickups, mate. Oh, Kenny's in. Kenny Mack. Yes, Kenny. I did a video about Telecasters ages ago. And not that long ago, a few months ago. And I was seriously tempted. I almost got the credit card out then for this Michael Kelly Telecaster. Beautiful quilted maple top. Fantastic stuff. Yeah, Rick Graham. Yeah, he's I think he's a mate of Rick Beato, isn't he, Rick Graham? Craig? Has anyone notable been seen using a Harley Benton live, do you know? I don't know. I mean, I don't think any big name guitarist you're gonna find them using a Harley Benton. Although stranger things have happened, I suppose. But I'm sure they are, or they will be at some point plying their trade in the pubs and clubs up and down the land. What do I reckon on Steve Rothery? Any chance of doing one of his solos from Marillion? I did one, actually, from the live version of a track called Easter. If you look on my YouTube channel, it'll be on there somewhere. It's a few months ago now, but I've done one of his. Yeah, like most people, back in the 80s, I had that album Misplaced Childhood, and that was my first exposure to Marillion. And then I just kind of, I don't know, I just sort of, they went off my radar, and they've only just recently come back on in the past year or so. Do you watch the JHS pedal videos? No, I don't. Not because I don't want to watch them, but basically because I've never seen them. And, I just haven't come across them. Yeah, many big name players use Squires. Probably the biggest guy to use a Squire at the moment, I know Jeff Healey did, but his was modded. Jeff Healey's Squire had can't remember the name of the pickups, but he had some upgraded pickups in them. But the guy who's using a completely stock, I think it's a Squire Bullet Strat. I might be wrong, but I do believe it's a Squire Bullet. Is a fella called Jack Pearson, who is like one of the biggest names in Nashville. Plays with a bunch of people. He's got his own kind of career, a bit like a sort of Dave Grissom kind of character. Got his own sort of solo thing going on, but also plays with like the Allman Brothers and a bunch of other people. Evening, Dara. How are you, mate? Yeah, Ozzy, I love Paul Gilbert's videos when I get the chance to see them. I wish I could say the same for his music. I just find it's a bit too sort of 80s hair metal shreddy for me a lot of the time. Maybe I'm out of touch. Maybe that's not what he's doing nowadays. But as an entertainer, well, not an entertainer, but as an educator and an entertainer, I think he's incredible to watch. He's a fantastic guitar player, and very, very engaging guy. Dealy me, there's a John Mayall played a Squire. I didn't know that. And there's a name from the past, Francis Dunnery. It bites. Oh, dearie me. Calling all the heroes. What was that album, Big Lad in the Windmill? I had that back in the day, yes. Great sort of pop, prog, rock band from the 80s. It bites. And he probably still is a monster of a player. Dave Simpson is an awesome guitarist. Nightwish lover, yes. I always, not only a great player, but he's just such a nice guy as well. I always, I always have this kind of thing in my head. Would I go for a pint with that person? I'd go for a pint with Dave. I think he's a cracking lad. I didn't see that, Graham. His Mayall's 70th birthday gig. I didn't see that. Indeed. Anyway, what we got now? Steve Rothery of Marillion played a Squire Strat. He still does, or he still did in the last video I saw of him, which was the Easter video at the Albert Hall. Yeah, I agree with you, John. Francis Dunnery's legato is second to none. It was, I've got to tell you, it was two guitarists. It was Joe Satriani and Francis Dunnery that made me realise that it was okay to do all the hammer-ons and pull-offs, because back in the 80s when I first, when I was kind of getting serious about playing guitar, everybody was either sweep picking, Yngwie, or doing really fast alternate picking like, Tony McAlpine or Al Di Meola or anything like that. And the sort of unspoken thing, and maybe this was just me, but it was like if you were using legato, hammer-ons, and pull-offs, you were cheating. And then I saw Frank Dunnery, and I saw Joe Satriani for the first time, and it was like, okay, so it is okay to play like that. We love the fact that the first Bebop Deluxe album featured a Gibson Les Paul copy on the cover. I didn't know that. I didn't know that I shall have to go back and have a look at my album covers. I've never noticed that. Yeah, I saw that one, Johnny. Five What World just did a video on Beano on a budget, cost about £1,000. Yeah, exactly. You know, if what you want is a Les Paul and, you know, kind of a Marshall-y kind of tube amp, then, you know, maybe a vintage Lemon Drop or vintage kind of V100 and, you know, something like a Bugera amp or something like that. They could have come in a lot kind of cheaper than what they did. I didn't know Frank Dunnery was in Robert Plant's band, Stevie. I'm learning loads of stuff tonight, it has to be said. You know, so just goes to show you the educational properties of a pint. Where are we? What other good YouTubers do you watch? Notably UK ones. Guilty of watching mostly the US ones. Got to be some good UK ones that under the radar. Well, he's got a very, very small audience at the moment, but a good mate of mine who I'm interviewing next week on the channel is Steve Hoggart. Check him out on YouTube. He is, well, how can you describe Steve? He is a bass player. And if you imagine a bass player who is kind of a cross between Billy Sheehan and Jaco Pastorius, then you're somewhere close. He is a virtuoso bass player, and he's a university lecturer in music technology, and he's a studio owner, and he's a producer, and he's done you name a job in the music industry, from, you know, kind of being the techie guy in the studio who fixes all the gear through to, you know, the like tour manager and stuff like that. He's done it, and he's got a vast amount of experience and a vast amount of knowledge, and he's got a YouTube channel, so go and check him out. As I say, I'm interviewing him next week on the channel. Yeah, he's a great guy, isn't he? Craig knows Steve. So I've got an interview with him coming up. So there's one you can check out. Who else? Oh, dear me. They are a bit thin on the ground, UK YouTubers, aren't they? Or at least the kind of big noticeable ones. And obviously, Bennett Crimson Custom Guitars. I've always thought Gordon Smith guitars, you know, kind of should have a bigger presence on YouTube than they do. I mean, if you search for Gordon Smith guitars on YouTube, you'll tend to find the odd video that they do, but it's mainly other people playing their guitars. Yeah, Mary Spender. Yeah, I mean, she's a good player, isn't she? You know, and you know, it's just she's ridiculously talented. I don't know, John. Phil Hilborn. Now, I've seen his band a few times. The Phil Hilborn band, funnily enough, they were called. He's the guy who used to do all the kind of solo analysis and tuition stuff in Guitarist magazine. And he's a monster player. And another good guitarist who I think is just kind of not really known about is a guy called Sean Baxter. Yes, I know there are loads of great British YouTubers. I just couldn't think of any at that time. Any experience with, yeah, obviously Dave Simpson, of course. We'll take that as read. Any experience of Manson guitars? No, I haven't, so I can't offer an opinion there. Yeah, Levi Clay, he's a great guy. I mean, he's he's a monster musician, isn't he? He does when you look at some of the transcriptions that he does of some of the really, really kind of twiddly widdly kind of, full on shreddy sort of stuff. The Hamsters are a great band. Are they still going? Are the Hamsters still around? I've seen them a few times. Oh, you had lessons from Sean Baxter, yeah. Well, I sort of did. I learned a load from him, but not personally, just from his guitar magazine columns. Yeah, Jack from Peach Guitars has his channel as well. I'm learning loads of stuff tonight. Again, there's loads of channels that people assume that because I'm on YouTube, I watch a lot of YouTube. I don't have time because I'm busy making YouTube videos. There's a good one. Yes, anyone can play guitar. Yeah, he's a fantastic guy. He does a lot of the kind of indie stuff as well. But I first saw him. My first experience of seeing him was doing like a rockabilly kind of thing, and he looks like he shouldn't be that good on the guitar. Do you know what I mean? He looks a bit of a. I don't mean this in a bad way at all, but he looks a bit like a nerd. And dearie me, he plays guitar fantastically. What about the skinny Canadian guy, Steve, that does the fake guitar videos? I don't know. I mean, I've heard that this exists, this whole kind of fake guitar kind of thing where people mime to speeded up tracks and stuff, but I don't think I've ever seen them. Yeah, Danish Pete's a great player, Craig. Yeah, I'll go with you on that. Yeah, again, thank you guys. I mean, I feel a bit guilty now. I said earlier on that I couldn't really think of any UK YouTubers, and now you're kind of reeling off a lot of UK guitar YouTubers. Yes, Mike from China Guitar is absolutely fantastic. Yeah, Justin's a good lad, isn't he? He does a lot of good educational stuff. He's yes, Kenny, I have sold a guitar that broke me out. My first ever Gordon Smith, which I sold to get a PRS. What a silly boy I was then. I've not only have I heard of Keith Moore, but I've seen him. He used to do a lot of demos for Marshall. And there was a Marshall clinic in Middlesbrough. Oh, dearie me, this will have been late 80s, early 90s. And he was there, and Jeff Whitehorn were the two guitarists that were on that. And, he was fantastic, really kind of melodic shred, I would say. That John Robson guy is pretty good. I wouldn't believe that for a moment. Oh, I didn't know Mike was from China Guitar was doing a live stream. I must have missed that one. How do you refrain from swearing? You do really well, mate. Well, I suppose it's because as I say, I used to have a show on a local community radio station, and it was drummed into us on the training that I did for, kind of getting my own show on that, you don't swear. And it's just, you can be as informal as you want, but you don't kind of go on air and do all the kind of effing and jeffing. And it's as soon as this mic goes off, you know, I've got a mouth like a sailor, but it just, I don't know, it just feels kind of natural to rein it in, even after a few beers. Any modern day British guitarists you admire? I don't know, really. I haven't I don't really categorize guitarists by nationality, to be honest. But what sort of modern stuff am I listening to now? I think you'll probably find it's all stateside. But I mean, Dave Simpson. I mean, there he is. He's a canny guitarist. You know, you see him doing these kind of bluesy kind of videos, and you know, where he's kind of playing with a load of soul and emotion, and you know, he's fantastic. And then you'll see the occasional one where he's absolutely shredding, you know. And yeah, you know, he's someone to look up to, isn't he, Dave? He's so Dave, and I don't know, other British guitar players. What's his name? Oh, can't remember his name. The guy who's got his own signature Ibanez, and he's I can't remember. For the life of me, I can't remember his name at the moment. So yeah, Guthrie Govan, there's another guy, but there's this guy, and I can't remember, and it's on the tip of my tongue. He does stuff for Premier Guitar and Guitar Interactive and stuff like that, and he's a fantastic player, and I can't think of his name. And another guy, and I don't know what he's called, but he's one of the guitar players in that band called the Classic Rock Show. Tom Quayle, that's him. Yes, Tom Quayle, fantastic player. I knew it was Tom, and I kept wanting to say Tom Jones, and obviously that was, you know, kind of wrong. But the Classic Rock Show, if you don't know about those guys, as I'm sure you do, because Pete Thorne's playing with them at the moment, but they're just like the best pub rock covers band that you've ever heard, but they're not playing in pubs, they're playing in theatres and arenas, and they do, you know, everything from Steely Dan to Dire Straits to the Eagles to the Beatles to Led Zeppelin. You know, it is what it says, the Classic Rock Show, and they're fantastic. And the main sort of guy in that band that isn't Tom Quayle, that isn't Pete Thorne, because Pete Thorne's playing the other lead guitar parts for them now. He's a fantastic player. Yes, Anton, I remember the Friday rock show. That was, you know, that was a fantastic show. That was kind of regular Friday night listening, wasn't it? You know. Howie G, yes, that's him. Howie G. He's a fantastic player, and you know, and again, he can play like, you know, Dwayne Allman or Mark Knopfler or, you know, name a guitarist, and he plays like him. Where are we now? I would like to see you as a guest on Andertons. Oh, I think I'm a way off that yet, Kenny. I think, you know, I mean, I think you have to have significantly more subscribers than me. I mean, you know, I mean, be nice. You know, it'd be nice to kind of go down there and, you know, be part of that whole thing. But you know, I'm not holding my breath. John Robson on Andertons, TV me. Do you think they'd understand me down south? Where are we? Michael Caswell was a very sad loss all those years ago. What a great player and teacher he was. Yep, I'd go along with that. Listen, guys, if you want to lobby Andertons for me, then fine. But you know, don't do it. Don't tell them I sent you. Anyway, chaps, with all this talk about me, you know, lobbying Andertons on my part, I've just noticed I'm on my last beer and I'm getting hungry, and there's a curry downstairs with my name on it. So I'm going to love you and leave you. And once again, thank you everyone for turning up. It's humbling beyond words that so many people, 160 odd people, turn up to watch a fat lad get drunk on a Friday night. I'm really grateful for all the support you're giving me. Thank you, everyone. And stay tuned for the next video coming tomorrow. And until then, have a great weekend, everyone. And I'm going to go and have me curry now. See you next time. Bye for now.